Hey, thanks for clicking on this video. What you're about to see is a clip from our most recent podcast episode. If you like what you hear, you can go listen to the full episode down at the link in our description. And if you like what you watch, please leave a like and consider leaving a subscribe. We very much appreciate all the support, but without further ado, let's get to what you clicked for. And it's been an interesting week of football, and kind of the end headline was Carson Wentz was traded to the Indianapolis Colts. Obviously a huge trade, one we've kind of been waiting for. Manish, I'm not sure this is what you expected when you picked him to win MVP earlier this year. And
Oh man.
that whole offseason campaign of loving on Carson Wentz, but I'm sure you did not expect him here, but I know it must make you happy. What are your initial
Oh.
thoughts for this Carson Wentz trade?
So as I think, I've done a lot of football takes these last few years, and this one is probably the biggest stain on my kind of football acumen. But Carson Wentz, I've taken a lot of heat for it, believe me. But when I found out the news, it was like 9 a.m. our time. I was going berserk. I was so happy. I wanted him in Indianapolis because everyone knew it. Also, everyone that's more than a casual football fan knew that Frank Reich and Carson Wentz Frank Reich was behind Carson Wentz's success in 2017. Obviously, he threw for 33 touchdowns, only had 7 interceptions, led the league in QBR, and he was tremendous that season. He had an 11-2 record, obviously tore his ACL against the LA Rams, but they won the Super Bowl that year. So, Carson Wentz, every year it was something different. So, obviously 2017, he had the amazing regular season, but then Nick Foles comes in and carries them to a championship. Then 2018, he goes 5-7, injures his back, and then Nick Foles comes in, wins the last 4 games, and wins a playoff game. So, there was always a QB controversy. And the one year he didn't have a QB controversy, it was his first 4,000-yard season, 27 touchdowns, only 7 picks, and he took a team of practice squad wide receivers with Greg Ward being his best guy. Keep in mind, Greg Ward was a quarterback before the year had started. So he took a team of those guys to the playoffs and beat a stacked Dallas team to win the division. So with that in mind, coming into this year, I thought, okay, give him some help. And, Brandon Brooks was coming back. This was before the injury that when I made the take, Brandon Brooks was there, Lane Johnson, Jason Peters, all these guys. And Zach Ertz was coming back. I was like, okay, this could be the year where he puts it all together again. And no, that did not happen. He got sacked 50 times, and that still led the league. He was on pace for being sacked the 4th most in NFL history. But obviously enough about his past, I think. And there was a QB controversy again with Jalen Hurts. So I think finally, my initial thoughts was he's finally getting a team that believes in him. That is what I wanted. I wanted a team to believe in Carson Wentz. Obviously, he's one of my favorite quarterbacks. So, I dug a lot into this trade. And it was a 3rd-round pick and a 2nd-round pick next year. But obviously, the 2nd-round pick can become a 1st-round pick if he makes the playoffs and takes 75% of the snaps.
I believe it's if he takes 75% of the snaps, then it's a first, or if he takes, I think, 70%, but also makes the playoffs. I think that's what I heard.
So those are the 2 conditions for it to be a 1st-round pick for the Eagles. I think my initial thoughts for the Colts is you got a guy. There was questions of Jacoby Brissett, maybe. Was it, you got someone in the draft? I actually made a video on if Justin Fields, they should trade up for him. This was a few months back, but, a lot of questions there, but I think they got their guy. They finally have someone they can have faith in, especially Frank Reich. I think he thought that he can fix Carson Wentz because, again, it's all about what's in between the 2 ears. It's all a mental game for him, and he needs to get his confidence back because he's very talented. People say it's ever since the torn ACL, he hasn't been the same, but 2019 was after the ACL and he had a good year. So, I don't think it's just the ACL. I think it's a little bit of the mental aspect. He lost confidence in the team and the team lost confidence in him. But obviously the Colts have some confidence in him. That's why you trade for a guy, and that bodes well for Wentz. Now for the Eagles, this is, I feel like you could have, if you had played hardball, I think you really could have gotten a 1st-round pick. I'm still in the belief of that. But, they take a huge dead cap hit next year. And I'll actually pin this on you, Jack. Do you think the Eagles right now are the worst or on the worst trajectory in the entire NFC?
See, before you mentioned NFC, I was like, oh, hell no. I think that the Houston Texans are obviously
on a worse trajectory. That's why I threw NFC at you.
I actually like this trade for the Eagles. Think about it. They just traded their backup quarterback. And sure, they're going to take a dead cap hit. They traded their backup quarterback got a third rounder this year, and what honestly will probably be a first rounder next year. Obviously, things aren't completely solid. Obviously, Carson Wentz has had some injuries before, so it's not 100%. But they traded a backup quarterback who probably wasn't going to play this year because they like Jalen Hurts more, and they haven't liked Carson Wentz for a while. I saw that for about like 6 weeks or so, he wasn't even talking to Doug Peterson. So they traded their backup quarterback for 2 picks, 2 high picks that can be very valuable in the draft. And yeah, they're going to take a dead cap hit, but that's okay. I mean, they still in the NFC East, they can still compete this year, even with that dead cap hit. So, I do like this trade. I don't think it harms them in the future. I think it actually really helps their future because they were going to go with Jalen Hurts anyway, or a quarterback right now at number 6. So worst trajectory in the NFC, I'd say no. I don't know who I would go with there. I would say, I mean, a year ago I would have said Detroit, but now they've had some first round picks from the Rams. Too. I mean, that's a tough one. I don't know who I would go with there, but I definitely don't think it's the Eagles. You could even go with Dallas. I mean, there's a lot of other teams I would go with instead of the Eagles just because they have these picks now, and because they were able to move on from Wentz, kind of get that out of there. But I think they're handling this situation. So I'll move it on. I like the trade for the Eagles, but I hate the way that they're now handling the situation. Yep. We talked in the last podcast episode about no matter what they do, put confidence in the quarterback that is there without, introducing competition.
Exactly.
We talked about examples. You can go check the last podcast episode if you want to check that out. We'll put the link in the description for that one. But it's just now they're talking about, possibly drafting a quarterback to introduce some competition. And it's just you're running into the same problem.
It's this, like I said, it's a cycle. This is why I think they're on a terrible trajectory. It's a poor run franchise. I mean, aside from the one ring, I mean, really, they've been to the playoffs many times. They constantly choke. Look, this is you have to put faith in your quarterback. Simple as that.
Yep.
Right. So the 1 year that they said when they traded Nick Foles to the Jaguars, the 1 year they said, okay, Wentz, this is your team. No one else is there. We are trusting you. He takes them to the playoffs. Jalen Hurts had some flashes. He beat the Saints when they were the 1 seed. He had some flashes this year. He played really well against the Cardinals. I'll leave that to the side though. He showed you flashes of potentially being a franchise guy. And you sit up here and say, we're not going to commit to him. We're going to cause have a QB competition. Well, if you trade the backup, which is Wentz, you're supposed to say, hey, Hurts, you are our guy. Let's ride with you. That's the message you're supposed to send. And that gives him, and you know what would have been even better? If they had said that would have completely overridden what happened week 17. We all remember they put in Nate Sudfeld for no reason. And that caused a huge controversy of, are they intentionally tanking? So what they had done, they had fired Doug Peterson. So you got rid of the guy that did it. And then if you take away Carson Wentz, that basically ends it. But now, Nick Sirianni and all these guys, right? The coaches aren't fully committed on Hurts. What is he supposed to think? If you get one guy out, are you trying to get another guy in via the draft? I mean, the 6th pick, you can get a good quarterback there. Justin Fields could be there. I mean, Trey Lance, maybe Zach Wilson, who knows? But if there is a guy there, if I'm the Eagles, this is the same thing. We all thought Justin Jefferson was going to Philly. And then, they take Jalen Reagor. But I think, Philly should take Jamar Chase. We'll give you some more draft content coming out. But, if you want to look, there's a Devontae Smith versus Jamar Chase video. We'll probably leave that in the description as well. But, I think the Eagles should go receiver. But, hey, if they go with a quarterback, this causes a lot more controversy again. And those are 2 guys who were picked high in the draft that you have to only start one. So one of them is basically not, putting any value for you. And obviously that $34 million in cap hit, it is the highest in NFL history at this point. It's obviously only for 1 year, so it's not the end of the world, but that's like 20% of their entire cap going to a guy that is playing for an AFC team that gave the Bills a run for their money. Now, I will say this. I think with this trade, this is probably Carson Wentz's best supporting cast, and I'm including 2017. I would argue it.
Yeah.
Because I think this offensive line is younger than the one he had in 2017. I think this receiving core is also younger. Now, granted, he had Alshon Jeffrey, Zach Ertz, Nelson Aguilar had a good year that year. But I think, I'm banking on a Michael Pittman breakout year. This dude has been terrific. I mean, I think he had 502 yards his first year, but he had some, he again showed some flashes in the playoff game. he was getting open. They just didn't target him in the second half, like you told me. And I had T.Y. Hilton, again, ever since that Packers game, he had 81 yards one game, 110 yards. He went over 70 yards or had a touchdown in 4 of the last 5 games. So he was pretty serviceable as well. So, those are some good guys that you can have. And not to mention the running back situation. Jonathan Taylor is one of my breakout candidates for next year. Yeah. If he hasn't already broken out. I mean, this dude had 253 yards in his final regular season game. It only, didn't get as portrayed in the media because Derrick Henry hit 2,000 yards in that same game. But, Jonathan Taylor is a beast. And, you can't ignore the fact that they have Nyheim Hines. Also Marlon Mack is coming back, but they'll probably let him go. But, again, they still have some good running backs on the table. And that defense, all 3 facets. Defensive line led by DeForest Buckner, linebacking core led by Darius Leonard, and that secondary, it's got some good pieces with Xavier Rhodes having a bounce back year. So this team, I'll ask you this now. Do you think the Colts are a top 3 team in the AFC?
I do. I'm not a huge believer in Carson Wentz. I think I believed in him somewhat coming into the year. Like I was like, I'm not buying everything you say, but I still think he could be good. And just kind of seeing what happened to him last year and kind of looking into a deeper dive, I saw a post on Instagram about how his 2017 was actually really lucky. And, they had a lot of points to say. There was I don't remember the exact name of the account. I wish I could say it so I could shout it out, but they're kind of more of the statistical analysis, like deep stats, looking into that stuff. And honestly, they made some great points. And, that's influencing me a little bit, but also a player that lost his confidence that much. Yeah. It's going to be a gradual buildup. It's not like Frank Reich and Indianapolis showing, that they want to trade for him is going to make his confidence go right back to where it was. It's going to be gradual. It'll take a year or two. But I do believe that is he better than Phillip Rivers? Like, is he better than what Phillip Rivers did this year? Or,
that's the question, right? So like people are saying, what level are you getting? Obviously you're not going to get the paid. So for Colts fans, you're not going to get paid Manning.
No,
you're not even going to get Andrew Luck, in my opinion.
No,
but will you get more than Phillip Rivers? I think that's the big question.
I think you'll get about the same as you got from Phillip. I think you'll maybe get more like output, but also a little bit more like turnover worthy plays and stuff like that than you would from Phillip Rivers. So a little bit more boom, a little bit more bust. But also I would say that yes, they are a top 3 team. I think they slide in right above the Ravens now for number 3. The Browns are good too, though.
So you got obviously the Chiefs and the Bills, and then I would say the Colts 3, and then maybe Cleveland or Baltimore.
I'm gonna tie him with the Browns. I'll say like tied with the Browns just because their defense is better. I think the Browns offense will be better, but the Colts defense is a little bit better. So I'll tie in there at 3 with the Browns. But I think this team, the Colts team in general, and all the weapons that you talked about in the defense, they're gonna progress too. So, like, I think that they were primed to, no matter what, kind of get up to that level. And so Carson Wentz obviously helps. He's better than Jacob Eason, or Jacoby Brissett, who might have started. And I love Sam Darnold, but he's better than Sam Darnold. So, yeah, I think they're going to move up to that level. We'll see kind of how it shakes out. And look, they could win a Super Bowl. We don't know. If depending on the Carson Wentz they get, they could be the Super Bowl favorites. I mean,
well, there are 2 things that I kind of wanted to end up with.
Yeah.
One is I think his confidence can be fixed. Oh, think about it. There's still 7 months before the season starts. And one comp I want to actually make is Baker Mayfield, because he had the down year, right? The sophomore slump. Everyone lost faith in him.
Yeah.
He was ridiculed, but he got a new offensive coordinator, and he got a guy that believed in him in Kevin Stefanski. The first thing Kevin Stefanski, when he came in March, he was asked, is Baker Mayfield the guy? Same thing with Andrew Berry, the GM. Was Baker Mayfield the guy? And both of them said they were going to commit to him.
Yeah.
Alex Van Pelt, our offensive coordinator, helped with his footwork. And literally within 7 months, obviously it took a little bit some time in the regular season, but he became a lot better.
And
right?
the O-line.
I think we can all agree.
Can't forget about that.
Yeah. So, the O-line developed, and what is Carson Wentz going into? A lot better of an O-line. So I think with a guy that believes in him, he has 7 months to fix those mechanics, and I'm sure there will be some OTAs in preseason, obviously barring anything major with COVID. I think there will be more, off-season preparations, rather than being blindsided last year. I think it's going to be a lot easier for Carson Wentz to get more acclimated to the Colts. And I will say the second thing too is with the Indianapolis Colts, can he win a Super Bowl? Well, the first thing is, how is he going to perform in the playoffs? Because he hasn't played in a playoff game. Like, he has, his playoff resume is 1 for 4 for 3 yards. Or is it 1 for 3 for 4 yards? One of those 2, but like, he just hasn't been available for it. His team has made the playoffs 3 of the 5 years he was there. but he just wasn't available to play in it. So we just don't know what we're going to get from him. And that's a big thing, right? Are you going to get the Carson Wentz that we saw in 2017, or are we going to get the other 4 years of Carson Wentz? And that's what is kind of concerning for me. I still believe in my guy. I think, his mechanics, they're not as poised as the next guy, but he is one of those guys that off script plays. He's one of the few guys that can make an off script play work. And I think, a team like the Colts, it doesn't have to be that methodical. And I think a guy that can go off script can get you over the top.
I think the problem with him is because of what he dealt with in Philly, but also kind of his mentality, he went off script too much. Like because he was forced to, but B, because he was just like trying to play hero ball a lot. So he went off script a little bit too much, but with the stability of the Colts offensive line and the weapons they have there, he won't have to go off script as much, which I think then also makes him better and more dangerous when those off script plays end up happening. So it's all, we're going to find out. I mean, we're going to find out, and I can't wait to kind of see it, whether it's good or bad. For those of you who are watching this on YouTube after we release it as a podcast episode, I want you to let us know down in the comment section who won this trade, in your opinion. Do you think the Colts won this trade? And do you think the Eagles won this trade? I think it goes either way. Honestly, I would say it was a tie just because they both got what they were looking for. Yeah. And I thought the Eagles, did a good job just getting rid of him, which is what they were trying to do. And then also I want to let you, or down in the comment section, let us know, do you think that Carson Wentz will succeed with the Colts? Like, will this go in their favor next season when we see it? Obviously, we don't know yet. How far will the Colts go next year? How far will they go? Like, let us know down in the comment section. Answer those questions for us. We really want to know. But I'm very excited to see Carson Wentz on the Colts. I'm excited for the Colts for getting their guy. I'm excited for the Eagles. We're going to see them have a couple draft picks, see what they do with Jalen Hurts. This kind of is setting off that quarterback, carousel that we're going to get to see over these next couple weeks and months. So it'll be really exciting. Excited to see what Carson Wentz can do and what the Eagles and the Colts can do. But great trade. I think it's time to move on to our next thing, though.